Welcome to Beyond the Corporate Mask with Suzanne Assam and Emma Templing, a podcast with honest conversations about work, presence, and the parts of ourselves we've been told to hide. Imagine this. You're at an event, the music's playing, people are talking, everyone seems completely at ease. You smile, nod, hold your drink, but on the inside you're thinking, any moment now, they're going to realize that I don't belong here.
This is exactly how the impostor syndrome can feel. Like you're one question away from being exposed. Even when you've worked hard. Even when you have earned your spot.
Welcome back to Beyond the Corporate Mask, the podcast where we explore what leadership looks and feels like when we stop performing and we start showing up. My name is Emma.
And I'm Suzanne. And today we're talking about that stubborn inner voice that says, you're not good enough. You don't belong here. Any second now, they're going to find out.
Yeah, now, and the topic that we will discuss in this episode, I think, is just extremely relevant today. You know, I've heard countless of people talk about this. I think it's one of the most common feelings that resemble a corporate mask. Because did you know that 70% of all people in the world experience imposter syndrome at some point in their lives?
Yeah, wow, that's really a lot. It's crazy.
That's a lot
when
of
you
people.
Think about it, huh? 70%. Well, first, let's talk about what is imposter syndrome exactly. So, psychologists Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes first described this in 1978. And they described how capable, accomplished people can see themselves as frauds, thinking their success is just luck or good timing, or maybe even a mistake someone made in picking them.
Oh, I definitely recognize this feeling. I don't know about you, Susanna. Like, when did you first notice that imposter feeling in yourself? Do you maybe have an example of something you experienced here?
Yeah, I clearly remember, and that says a lot that I still remember this. It was one of the first instances, was very early in my career. I was working for a large corporate running leadership development programs. And I really, really wanted to prove myself so that I'd be seen as capable and also ready for promotion.
Right.
And I remember doing the introduction for a course with about, you have to picture this, there were 30 senior leaders in the room. And I was ready to start doing the introduction. And the whole time I thought they were thinking, what is she doing here? She's way too young. She's not experienced enough. Ugh. And this is what then happened. I remember clearly that I then literally froze. I couldn't facilitate anymore. My mind went blank. My body locked up. And I felt really, really ashamed because one of my co-facilitators was also there. He was my manager.
Oh, no.
So I felt ashamed. And it also felt like I had just proven the very thing that I was afraid they were thinking.
Yeah, almost like a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy where you froze up because you had that feeling, and then you proved that inner voice right. Wow.
Exactly. And like I said, I still remember this moment clearly.
I imagine. I mean, I've had something similar myself, not so much with freezing, but with over-preparing. So in my first real job, I had to give a short presentation, and I spent days getting ready for it. Like, I had scripts, I had notes, I had backup notes, I had backup notes for my backup notes. Because, I was just now saying this sounds ridiculous, but I was so convinced that if someone asked me something that I didn't have the answer to, I would just be exposed. And they'd be like, wow, it's clear she doesn't belong here. Oh, Yeah.
Yeah, you're not good enough. You should not be here.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But when I'm hearing both of
Yeah.
these experiences, I'm seeing that it is, on one hand, a voice in the back of your mind, but at the same time, it also does something in your body. Like, for example, when you said that you just froze up during your presentation.
Yeah.
So that means that the imposter syndrome, it doesn't just live in your head, right?
No,
it lives in your body.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean that is a very good example that I literally froze up, and I'm sure that other people also can picture. Okay, what then happens when you hear that voice telling you you're not good enough?
Yeah. Exactly. And now I'm wondering, so it's in your head, but it's also in your body. And how about the environment you're in? Like, does that maybe contribute as well, would you say?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we can all imagine or picture or think of environments where when that imposter syndrome or that voice pops up. Because the environments we work in, and it's not only about work, it can be in family situations, friendship situations, etc. But the environments we are in can make our nervous system feel unsafe.
Yeah.
And that is, that makes the imposter thoughts more likely to show up. For example, think of a team dynamic where you really feel you have to prove yourself that you are as good as your peers.
Yeah.
Or a role where you are one of the only women, or the only person of your ethnicity, or with a particular background. Or, for example, the only one having a non-native accent.
Right.
So, definitely, the environment can really fuel that imposter voice. For example, I recently talked to someone who is in a difficult situation in her job. Her position is being made redundant, and she's working there now for maybe 10, maybe 8 years.
Oh, that's really
but
tough.
together with so her position is being made redundant. She's probably gonna lose her job, but she has the opportunity to apply for another role. But together with her, 13 of her colleagues, 30 of her colleagues, also need to apply for that same job, and they can only keep 7 of them. So suddenly the dynamic with her colleagues has shifted from collaboration to competition.
Yeah.
And that, she mentioned, that creates a lot of imposter feelings for her. So, this is really an example where that imposter voice starts to speak up. But also, for example, a culture where everyone speaks in a certain jargon, which you don't know because you're new, or you're unfamiliar with a topic, and you have the feeling you're constantly catching up. That can also really fuel that imposter voice.
Absolutely. And I think, this is something that maybe we don't realize so much when we've worked at the same company in the same team for a while. But we actually recently got a new colleague at my company. And, she joined our team knowing a lot in her area of expertise, but because she was new, she didn't know any of our work lingo, so to say. So, whenever we had meetings in our weekly check-ins, she constantly feels like she needs to catch up with us because we talk in our own jargon. We have our own, abbreviations that we keep on using. And I imagine that causes a lot of feelings of maybe insecurity and can really trigger that imposter syndrome to kick in. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and actually, we also discussed this with our colleague, and she also mentioned, that those thoughts and those feelings came up. So it's also good for team members and managers to be aware of this when somebody new joins your team. But also, for example, a team where mistakes are always remembered. Remember, you make a mistakes, but years later or months later, people still remember that. You feel that they still think about it, etc. And that also does something. Yeah, it's a very it's fuel for the imposter.
Yeah. The imposter syndrome thrives on things like this. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe I can give you also one other personal example. Even now, for me, it can still show up sometimes. When, as you know, I'm writing a book. And when I was writing, and when I was in the writing process, I had days where I thought, who am I to be writing about embodied leadership? There are plenty of other people who know more than me, who have bigger platforms. And that was what I was constantly thinking in my head. And that's, so that is a little bit of an example that I have. And also then I can literally feel it in my body, like maybe a little bit more tense shoulders, fists that are clenched, a little bit more high breath, and as if my body is on a certain, on alarm status. So
completely tensed up.
Yeah.
No, I fully recognize that. I mean, I even had it recently. I was at this event and I was speaking on a panel, right? And everyone was way older than I was and had decades of experience in that industry. And I didn't have that. And I just caught myself thinking, why am I even here? Why am I part of this? But I thought that even though I had literally been invited to that event to speak, still I got in my own head and I got to thinking, why am I here? Yeah, it's not a great feeling.
And when you had that experience, was there also, so you had that thought, why am I even here? And what did something happen in your body as well?
Absolutely. I could feel my upper area of my body, so my jaw and my neck and my shoulders, I can just feel it like tense up, like I was a little bit like hunched at some point, like hunched over. And also after the event, I noticed how tense I had been, because I could just feel kind of like muscle pains of how much I'd been clenching those muscles. Yeah.
So this is interesting, because when your nervous system senses, hey, this is a situation where you can get rejected, or you can start feeling a sense of shame, it automatically sends a survival message. And that can show up in muscles that are more tense, or your breath is a little bit shallow. And it sends a survival message. Hey, this is not safe. Let's protect you. So it does that by, and especially what we're talking about now, the imposter, it keeps you quiet. It's letting you over-prepare. It's trying to convince you that you don't belong, just so you can avoid the risk of shame or rejection.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, we've established that this imposter syndrome is not just cognitive, right? It's not just your thoughts that will bring you into a freeze, for example. It is literally something that's triggered in your entire body by your nervous system, right?
Yeah, and it's good to realize that that it's not only thoughts.
It's not just your thoughts.
It's showing up in your whole body, in your whole nervous system. Yeah.
Exactly. And, I'm thinking in our work, we work a lot with embodied leadership, and we work with people who experience imposter syndrome a lot. So, for example, in our trainings, we use practices that don't just shift your thoughts, they shift your entire state of being, your whole body. And they tell your nervous system, hey, it's okay. I'm safe.
Yeah. And I think that's really important in the work that we do, because you can think I'm good enough, and you can think that over and over again. Probably we all have done that when we have experienced the imposter syndrome feelings. So you can think I'm good enough all you want, but if your nervous system still feels something else, in this case, it feels it's not safe, you won't be able to show up in the way that you want to show up. And this is really key in, okay, how can you change these feelings and thoughts of being an imposter?
Yeah, and this implies that you have to go beyond cognition, right? Because you cannot think your way out of it.
Yeah, imagine this. If you say to yourself, okay, I'm good enough, I got this, but you still have that clenched jaw, or your fists that are clenched, or you have a shallow breath, then like I said, you can think that all you want, but it's not going to change.
It's not going to do anything.
No. But we have some tips for you. So let's walk through some mini practices we use to calm your nervous system.
Right.
Because that's the key. The first step, basically, to calm your nervous system and tell it, hey, it's safe. And then you can really start listening to your reassuring thoughts, like I belong here, I'm good enough, etc. But first you really need to calm down your nervous system and to make it feel safe. So what you can do first, really welcome the feeling. And what we mean with that is pause for a second and notice where the imposter sensations live in your body. So we have already given some examples. It might be a knot in your stomach, tight shoulders, cold, or maybe even sweaty hands. And it's essential to first pause and feel what kind of sensations you feel in your body. And then And this is already very difficult for people, because we're so cognitively focused that we never pay attention to the sensation in your body. So this is really the first step. And then when you feel, okay, it lives there in my body, allow yourself to go there with your attention. Notice the sensations. Maybe put your hand on it. And by simply noticing these sensations, you're able to tell your body, hey, it's safe to feel this. And like I said, most of the time we don't allow ourselves to feel those feelings because it doesn't feel good. We don't like that. We don't like to have those feelings that, don't feel good. It's uncomfortable, and we try to push it away. But when you acknowledge it, it can really fade away. And research says that, there's multiple research on this, but it says that when you give these uncomfortable feelings attention for 8 seconds, and some studies says it's a little bit longer, 30 seconds, it can then disappear. So by just giving it attention, acknowledging it, by maybe putting your hand on it, or really give it your attention, then it just disappears. It never stays. Then it can start again, of course, but that initial uncomfortable feeling, that disappears when you give it attention. So once you have noticed where you feel these sensations, also then as a next step, see if you can make space in your body there when you feel these sensations, because imposter feelings tend to shrink you, make you smaller. So go to that feeling and then try to make more space there. And I'm trying to describe what I'm doing now, but the imposter tries to shrink you. For example, make you feel really small, a little bit hunched. Try to open your chest, maybe your arms a little bit wider, so that you are not in that small shrink state. Put your feet on the floor, feel your feet on the floor, put your shoulders back, have a deep, slow breath, and just open your posture and give yourself more room to really exist, to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, you really need to start with your body. And I think once you've been able to start calming your nervous system that way, that's only when you can move on to the next more cognitive parts to help you reduce those imposter feelings. And I think in today's day and age, we so focus on that cognition without first pausing and focusing on the sensations in our body, which causes us not to succeed at this. So start with the body, and then we move on to the more cognitive parts. So then you might be able to try and, I always say embrace a beginner's mindset. So this means that you need to be curious and you need to be open to learning, Like, for example, there's this leader that I know, and she told her new boss, look, I know what I bring to the table. And I want to learn together. Like, she knew what qualities she could bring the team, but she also knew the areas that she could still improve on. And she actively took the space to ask for training or coaching in that area. So she really has beginner's mindset. She didn't immediately expect herself to be perfect in this new role.
Yeah.
She openly invited this room for improvement and development.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying, instead of letting that imposter thoughts and imposter feelings rule your behavior, she embraced more of a beginner's mindset.
Absolutely.
That made her be more open and taking up space and to ask for training and coaching. Yeah,
exactly.
Nice.
Exactly.
Nice. Yeah.
And another thing is that you can try to experiment with failure, or try to experiment allowing yourself to fail, right? Try to do a presentation before it's perfect, Share a draft you've created without endless edits. It's not ready, but just share it anyway,
Yeah.
Let your body collect the evidence that you will survive, even when things aren't flawless. Your body needs to feel how that feels. It needs to realize that you won't be in danger if what you deliver is not perfect. You really just try that out,
Yeah. This is a very good point, that your body needs to feel how it is when, you're not perfect, and that you will survive. It's not something to feel unsafe about. Yeah.
Exactly.
And for me, that also links to say yes before you're ready. Because a lot of times, especially when we have those imposter feelings, then we think about it, and then all these thoughts come in why you should not do it. And when you say yes before you're ready, so what happens in that moment is that you might feel that those bodily sensations, you acknowledge them, but before you let your thoughts catch up, you say, yes, let's do that. And then your body can also experience that, something maybe really nice or good can come out of it.
Yeah, exactly. So these aren't just quick tricks, right? These are some things that we understand. These take maybe a little bit of practice. You might not get these right the first time you try them, but they are very effective ways to help your body feel safe enough to let you lead, to let you take the wheel, even when that voice of doubt, the imposter syndrome, is still in the back of your head.
Yeah. And you say a very important thing is it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
You need to practice this, and we always mention that it's really about practice. And that is the good thing, because these are the practices we go deeper into during our embodied leadership retreat. And this next edition is on the 2nd and 3rd of October in The Hague, is especially for women this time. Because so many of the imposter patterns we see are shaped by environments women often work in. We mentioned it before. That environment can really fuel that imposter voice. So this is one of the things that we work with and practice during the retreat. This retreat is a personal leadership program, and it's 2 days. It's 2 days together where we don't just talk about these ideas, but we really practice them because we really believe in the practice can really change your behavior. We explore what it's like to stand your ground in high pressure situations, or, for example, how to say no without feeling that sense of guilt, but also how to read what is happening in your body, what sensations do you feel, and to be able to use that as a guide, to use that as how do I navigate in my professional and private life.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's really so powerful when you're in a room with other people, or in this case, other women who have experienced these same feelings, that tightening in your throat right before you want to speak up, or that urge to over prepare just to make sure that you feel enough and ready. It's very powerful and it's very impactful for all the participants. And, as we mentioned before, we don't just stay on the cognitive side of things, right? We do go into the cognitive side of things, but we also really help women to physically feel that they belong and that they're good enough.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't let participants just leave with the insight, but really with a muscle memory. The embodied experience of taking up space. How does that feel? Voicing your opinion and holding your ground. And we were really working on that muscle memory so that, your behavior can really, really change. Your patterns can really change.
So if you're curious, all the practical details are in the show notes. I'm talking dates, location, and how you can join us. So before we wrap up, Suzanne, I do have one more question. Do you think that the imposter syndrome gets less as you get older?
Yeah. And that's because I'm older, huh?
No, I didn't want to say.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think it does change. And let me think about it, because I think with age and experience, you collect evidence. Your body collects evidence that the times you stepped in, the times you contributed, it went well. So that does help, those success experiences. And of course, that comes with age.
Yeah.
But for me, I think the real difference came from somatic practices. I learned how to recognize what my body actually does when those imposter feelings come up. And I also learned how to regulate that in the moment. Thinking about it, I see the voice still comes up sometimes, but it's like I now know what to do before it's taking me over.
Right.
So I can, and in that way, I can still show up the way I want to show up. Maybe what I also think is that we should start seeing the imposter voice not as something that we need to get rid of, because we can also learn from it. But you just don't want to let it overpower you.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that, because I think it's not about drowning the feeling out entirely. It's just about not letting it consume you, right?
Yeah.
And really developing the tools, or maybe the ability to stay present and grounded, even when that little inner voice shows up.
Yeah. Imposter syndrome grows when we disconnect from ourselves. But when you stay present in your body and acknowledge the feelings, you create space in your body. And that's when you're able not to let the imposter syndrome take over.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If something resonated with you today, make sure to share it with your friends and to subscribe to our channel, Beyond the Corporate Mask, powered by Doors Open Institute for Corporate Sociology. You can do this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Leadership doesn't have to be exhausting. If you need to pause, reconnect with your body, and experience how embodied leadership can help you make clearer decisions, hold boundaries, and lead without hiding yourself, join us for the next edition of the Embodied Leadership Retreat. Details are in the show notes.
You've been listening to Beyond the Corporate Mask. Remember, your body has the answers. So let's start unpacking who you are and who you're ready to become.